I am what you call a SoCal teen. Growing up in San Diego, then moving to the Inland Empire at 13, my entire life is in California. This is home. My mind is accustomed to the nature here. The car culture, road infrastructure, the weather. I'm used to it all. It's routine to not only me, but to the 25 million people here with me. Every friend here, my close family members, the people I talk to on the daily. It's the groove of my life. Every person I met here shaped me to who I am today. It's easy to get caught up in the reality of where you live, often without even thinking. You can go a week without ever having the thought run through your mind that there are more than 8 billion people on Earth. You don't ever visually see it. You can only think of it, a number placed in your mind meant to represent humanity's scale. Being stuck in your hometown, you may only see 0.1% of that. But something that has enlarged and deepened my understanding of it is traveling, especially in my teens, has introduced me to life outside my normal routine. I spent many years not realizing that billions of people don't just live in the United States. Us humans have really managed to live in every corner of this world. And with that, we make different environments, cultures, and ways of living. SoCal is only a small percentage of this planet. In October of 2025, I visited Barcelona in Spain for 3 days. The 3 days that changed my perspective on this world forever. It was the trip where I experienced sonder at a more mature age and at an international scale. The word sonder defining as the realization that everybody around you are living a life as complex as yours. Being so far from California in a completely different environment, I start noticing small details. Details like more people walking on streets, traffic lights, the buildings. It's all different. That trip changed the way I thought about vacations. I didn't go to escape from reality unlike most people, but more so to have a better view of life through humans. Every time I left home, I realized there was always another version of normal waiting somewhere else. And this time, that version of normal would bring me to a place I had only ever seen through a screen. The moment I stepped outside the airport, I felt just how far away home really was. Everywhere I looked, it was a mix of new and foreign. The signs with Japanese writing, the bus driver on the right side of the vehicle while driving on the left side of the road, and the transport infrastructure. For the first time in my life, I was sitting down at a local Japanese restaurant with the ambience of nearby conversations consisting of a language I couldn't make sense of. I was exposed to so many food, different from what was offered back at California. I was down to try basically anything from here because every food here was like an opportunity, because it could be years before I'd ever eat like this again. The longer I explored, the more I started noticing more tinier details I would have never gave questioning to. The streets were clean, the sounds of the city were different. Even something as simple as throwing something away became unfamiliar because I spent my first night looking for a trash can before learning there really weren't any on the streets. Then there was the train system. For an entire day, I could travel across one of the biggest cities in the world without ever getting into a car. Coming from SoCal, where driving is almost unavoidable, I was amazed just how differently two places can be built around everyday life. And I can't lie, I was a little jealous. From a foreign perspective, this all felt so distinct from the SoCal life I was used to. I wasn't home, but just because it isn't my home doesn't mean it's home for others. Everyone has had a different experience of where they call home. The term home doesn't have to physically mean under a roof of a house, but rather an expression of a person's ordinary life. Me talking about the struggles of no trash cans on the streets, not understanding Japanese, drivers on the opposite side, and the subway systems is someone else's normal here. What feels unfamiliar and difficult to me is something that millions of people experience every day without a second thought, similar to how I think about SoCal. It pushed me to think more about how we use the word normal. There is no universal definition of normal. Normal varies person to person across this vast society, shaped by the places we grow up in, our social circle, and the experiences that become part of our existence. Being somewhere different also pushed me to look at my own home from a new eye. Things there I once ignored or took for granted because it was all I ever known became things I noticed, and vice versa. Things that felt strange at first slowly became clear to me here. In San Diego, I had vivid memories of taking the 805 freeway up north in my mom's car to go visit my sister who lived at a nearby city called Mira Mesa. However, across the Pacific Ocean and Tokyo, someone else may have the same kind of vivid memories, but instead of riding in a car on the freeway, their memories may come from taking the Chorosobu train line, a different way of transportation. Thinking beyond home, if every location creates its own unique version of normal, then every person living in those places must also have their own unique experiences, memories, and perspectives. Every person I walked past had a life that existed long before I arrived. They had memories attached to these streets, places they returned to without thinking, dreams that they were chasing, worries they carried with them, and a life that's just as vivid and important as my own. Standing in the middle of Tokyo, saying I was surrounded by strangers is an understatement. I was actually surrounded by thousands of stories. Stories I would never fully know, and in a way I find that somewhat comforting. I'm comforted by the fact that this world is so much bigger than my own experiences, and every single one of us is simply just trying to live another day. The longer I was in this vacation, I started thinking more about home. Kind of missing it in a way. I was thinking about my friends, my family, my dogs, wondering what they were doing right now in this exact moment. And it was right there, I had a mental image of my hometown. I was 17 hours ahead of my normal routine time. During the afternoon at rush hour, walking around seeing all these people live their daily routines, I could imagine back home. A night sky, street lamps on, people winding down to sleep. Time zones are such a weird element fixed into humanity. When I'm brushing my teeth, getting ready for bed, back at my SoCal life, it's the break of dawn, and millions of people are getting ready for the day ahead. We're all living in our present moment, just on different clocks. But despite us being separated by different environments, it was this trip that made me realize how familiar our lives really are. We all have a road we've been on hundreds of times, a familiar place that we wholeheartedly know by the experiences that connect with it. In the case for Japan, it's a train line that they use every day, or a funny memory that they had with an individual. The same way a familiar street in my hometown instantly brings back nostalgia, these places I never once knew existed carry that same meaning for someone else. No matter what country or city we grow up in, there will be elements and details of it fixed into you as a person. And maybe that is what makes this world a little less intimidating. Our definition is the influences of places. Within it, we have different cultures and different environments, but a fact that won't ever separate us apart is something we're all experiencing collectively. Life. And like all things in it, all great experiences must eventually come to an end. I began my journey back home to California and felt a mix of emotions. I was sad to leave behind a place that gave me so many new experiences, but I was also grateful for the perspective it gave me. I returned home with a different way of seeing the place I had always known. The same environment I once took for granted suddenly felt different to me. I began to appreciate the things that made California my home: the weather, the beaches, the landscapes, and the culture that I had been surrounded by my entire life. And while there are things I admire about Japan, there's something California has that no other place in the world can replace: my family and friends. The people who shaped my childhood and supported my dreams and helped create the person I am today. Out of billions of people on this planet, I was lucky enough to be born into this life, surrounded by people who made this place feel like home. And honestly, I wouldn't change it for anything because I appreciate what this unique community here has built for me. I will never be 17 in Japan again, but I will continue growing up in California, creating new memories in the place that raised me. But I may not be unique to this way of thinking. Someone else could be having the same exact realization with my city, just from the opposite perspective.